In this video, I'll show you how I revived a Nintendo Switch V2 that was stuck in a boot loop, only showing the Nintendo logo before turning off. Let's get started. As I mentioned earlier, this console won't get past the Nintendo logo, so we're going to do a further inspection. Let's plug it in and see. It isn't triggering the console to power on. Next, I'm going to use this USB tester to see if it's charging. As you can see on the USB tester, it is charging, but the console screen isn't showing any reaction. Next, I'm going to use this USB tail insertion tester to check for any shorts. No shorts found. This could be anything from a software brick to a hardware issue. We'll have to dig deeper to find out. To be honest, this kind of symptom is a bit tricky because we don't have a definitive clue yet as to what's going on. Let's unplug the tester and start disassembling the console. Grab your gear and let's disassemble this console. I'll start with the small Phillips screw on the SD card slot. Now, take the tri-wing screwdriver and remove the 4 screws at the corners. This screw head is stripped and the screwdriver won't grip. And it's the same story with this one too. I hate stripped screws, but we'll try to manage. Hopefully, I won't have to break the back case. Back to the stripped screws. Usually I use a small hardened flathead screwdriver. With a bit of extra force, it normally comes out. Let's try that and see. I can feel the screw turning, so we're definitely going to get it out. There you go. It's out. The moral of the story: never use cheap or incorrectly sized tri-wing screwdrivers as they'll strip the screw heads. Don't be that guy. Look at this. It's a real shame. If you think you're going to strip it, just stop. Don't force it. You're making the technician's job a nightmare trying to remove this. Next, I have to deal with another stripped screw. As a technician, it's just part of the job. But look, I really have to use a lot of force to get this thing out. There you go. It is removed. Please, for everyone out there, be aware and stay smart. If you can't do it, don't try. Hand it over to a technician before you cause even more damage to your console. Now remove the screws from the top and bottom. Use a Phillips screwdriver for this. Use the Phillips screwdriver again to remove the single screw in the middle of each Joy-Con rail. And now we can remove the back cover. Now use the Phillips screwdriver again to remove all the visible screws on the metal shield and the SD card slot board. Then we can remove the shield completely. And the most important step, disconnect the battery before doing anything else. Now I've got a working battery here. It's not empty, so let's test it out and see if the console is working or not. And nothing. It still shows the Nintendo logo and then gone. It's like it doesn't exist at all. Let me show you one more time. It displays the Nintendo logo and then goes completely black. From that point on, it doesn't show anything at all. Now pull the external battery. I have a feeling we're gonna need to mod chip it and check the eMMC partition. I know it's a hassle, but for me, that's the best way to track down the clues. My bad for not showing you how I modded this V2, but you can check out the process in one of my other videos. So, through the magic of editing, the console is now modded. Let's power it on and see what we get. Let's check out the eMMC partition first. As you can see, the eMMC partition is intact, but we still don't know if it's healthy or corrupted. The only way to find out is to dump the keys and then access the partition using Tegra Explorer. But since this was originally an unmodded console and we just modded it to check the partition, the chances of the eMMC getting corrupted are pretty slim. Logically, the system itself was managing it, not an external factor like a human. And now let's check the battery info. As you can see on the screen, the values look totally fine. So what exactly is keeping this console from booting up? Let's go ahead and launch the DISASSEMBLING CFW now and find out. Yeah, still nothing. So like I said before, I'm going to dump the console keys and try to access the eMMC partitions to see what's going on. Head over to Payloads, tap Lockpick RCM Pro, and then dump from DISASSEMBLING. Press any button to continue, and then head back to Hecate. Now that we're back in Hecate, select Payloads, and then select Tegra Explorer Extended Version. Now let's browse the eMMC, access User and System, and see what we get. If the NAND is corrupted, we usually won't even be able to access them. As you can see, we can access the NAND just fine, so I am pretty sure it is not a software issue but rather a hardware issue. So before I went ahead and pulled the board out of the chassis, I rechecked Hecate and went back into the battery info, and that's when I caught this. Yeah, I didn't get it on camera because it was completely spontaneous, but looking at this info right here, I think we found our culprit, the MAX 17050, which is the fuel gauge chip. How do I know? I know from experience that when Hecate cannot read the battery info supplied by this chip, it won't let the console boot up. But we still need to strip down the board and take a closer look to be absolutely sure. So now that I've pulled the board out of the chassis and looked on the other side of the board, right there, I was honestly surprised. There is a whole jungle surrounding the MAX 17050 chip, and that is exactly why this console won't boot up. A jungle of mold. Completely disgusting. I should have checked this earlier, but yeah, I've already chipped the console anyway. Let's get this cleaned up with some IPA and see what we're working with. And by the way, behind the scenes, I've already removed the mod chip and restored the console to its original condition before swapping this MAX 17050 chip. That part wasn't documented. My bad for not capturing it for you guys. Let's apply some flux around the chip and start hitting it with the hot air rework station to remove it. I have my Quick 861DW set to 430 degrees Celsius with an airflow of 80. And there you go, the MAX 17050 chip is now removed. Let's clean the area with IPA before placing a new chip. But I noticed that the IPA solution is seeping through the green solder mask because of that jungle root corrosion. So I think I'll use a tweezer to scrape away the detached green mask and see what's going on underneath. Some of you might be wondering, what the hell are you doing? Well, I'm scraping the mask away just to see if the damage is severe or if it's just on the surface. It's purely to check, that's all. If the corrosion is severe, then we'll need to repair the trace, but if it's just surface corrosion, we can leave it be. Looking at this, it seems like it's just surface level corrosion on the green mask, so it shouldn't affect the signal, but we'll see. Now I'm using a grinding pen to scrape the tiny space around the resistor. Now let's check the diode readings and compare them with the schematics on FlexBV. Place the red probe on the ground and the black probe on the MAX 17050 solder pads. There's nothing wrong with the diode readings, so next up, we're going to replace the chip and see what happens. Next, I'm going to remove the old solder from the pads and refresh them to make everything flatter. There's no need to remove the solder completely, we just want to flatten it out and get it fresh and new. I'm using some leaded solder paste for this. This is a new Max 17050 chip, and right before installing it, I'm going to add a little bit of flux to the pads. Then let's align the chip to the pads. Just place it as accurately as you can and make sure it's perfectly centered. Now let's hit it with hot air at 430 degrees Celsius and a 60 airflow. Make sure to get a feel for it so you don't blow the chip away with the air. Move the wand around until you see the solder melt and the chip settles into place. Then after a little bit, you can slowly do a micro nudge to see if the chip bounces back into place. When it snaps back like that, you know it's perfectly aligned and soldered. After replacing the Max 17050, let's pop the board back into the chassis and test it out. In case you missed it earlier or you're wondering, where the hell is the mod chip? Like I said, it just wasn't documented. It wasn't intentional, it just accidentally didn't get recorded. So yes, by the time I replaced the Max 17050 chip, the mod chip had already been removed. Now let's hope for the best. Is it going to break or is it going to work? Woohoo! It's working! So that tiny Max 17050 chip was really the reason the console wouldn't boot up at all. It wasn't a NAND issue, it wasn't a charger or battery issue, it was that exact little tiny thing. So next, let's fully assemble the console and put the case back together. So in this chapter, it's all about putting everything back together. Yeah, it's just the reverse of what we did at the very beginning, and as usual, I'll fast forward through the process. And for the last time, we'll turn on the console and double check everything before contacting the customer with the good news. So I put in the micro SD card, attach the Joy-Cons, and let's see what we've got. Does it detect both Joy-Cons? Yes, it does, sir. Checked. Next, does it detect the inserted micro SD card? Yes, it does. Check. Now let's insert a game cartridge and try to load it. Okay, it loaded just fine. Checked. Now let's test the Wi-Fi and internet connection. Good, then let's try to update the game and see, just to make sure the console isn't banned. Yes, the console is not banned and is able to download the game updates perfectly from the Nintendo server. So everything is fine and normal. Thank you for watching the video. If this video helped you, please give it a like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next upcoming video.